everyone, I'm Alli.
I'm Savannah, and we're doing age representation.
We will be using a lot of our key takeaways from Mr. Lewis's PowerPoint that he gave us in class and from his presentation.
So some key takeaways that we took from his presentation were that there are over 46 million people in the US that are over 65 years old, and with that and to film representation comes a lot of stereotypes that are negative and positive, and some of the negatives are that there's poor health, no friends, poor, lonely, grouchy, and slow in general with technology. Some of the positive stereotypes with older people are that they're wise, funny, empty nesters, grandparents/parents, or wealthy. Jumping into the age film representation, older females are usually seen in film as less attractive, less friendly, less smart, and are usually caregivers, mothers, wives, and housewives. So an example that we thought of that we actually talked about in class was the Golden Girls, and that is actually a TV show that was back in the 70s that kind of depicted four older women that kind of were all each other's caregivers and friends, and that's a good example for how Hollywood kind of set up the age representation for older females. For older men, they're kind of seen as more villains or victims. And an example that we thought of for that in Hollywood is Something's Gotta Give with Jack Nicholson. He's kind of seen as like a player, bad boy, but he's an older man in that sense that everybody's saying that you're too old to be a certain type of kind of man in them.
Something interesting that me and Savannah wanted to look at beyond this class that had to do with age representation is how many people who are supposed to be of retired age, how many of them still are in the labor force. And we found this, the data to be pretty interesting. We went to the Bureau and checked this out. As you could see, those who are of retirement age still go back for multiple reasons, and they say that in 2050, the population of 65 years and older will project 20.7% than where it is today. The Bureau also says that the labor force participation rates for populations of 65 years and older will project as the years go on, and this bar graph here shows that 15% of people who were of retirement age were still in the labor force, according to the Bureau in 2006. Just a quick heads up, we noticed that the source is from 2006, and we understand that, but the data is also still the same. According to the 2017 census, I do believe, all the percentages are pretty much the same, but we found this website that contained all of the data and information that we wanted to share, so we thought we would share it with you guys.
Some key takeaways that we found from the younger crowds are there are 21 million people in the U.S. that ages range from 15 to 19 years old. 90% of them use social media and 51% of them use it constantly. They spend on average around 9 hours a day staring at a screen, and this kind of depicts stereotypes that can be negative for teenagers, which people think that teenagers are lazy, spoiled, rude, self-serving, media addicts, and have no respect for their parents. But some positive stereotypes can be that they're athletic, they're scholarly, and they're civilly connected to others, and they're also influencers. For film representation, usually teenagers in the 80s or up until the 80s were seen as wholesome. Males outnumber females, and they're seen as healthy, thin, attractive, middle class, and usually there were more white representation in film media as well. Some examples that we found were Mean Girls, Gossip Girl, and Riverdale. These all represent the age gap that we're talking about right now. And males were usually seen as blue-collared workers. They played sports, did extracurricular activities. They plotted schemes, they were criminals. And females were seen as doing chores, grooming themselves, would cry, complain, whine, and were conniving and shocked.
And so looking at new media culture, there are a lot more influencers in the younger generations in today's world, and older adults are now seeming to not use media that often, but their media consumption is on the rise. And so, you know, older people are starting to get into technology, and also Hollywood is doing a lot better job at representing representing the age gap of the older women and men compared to the younger crowd in Hollywood.
And that is all we have today. If you want to find more ageism representation in the film industry, you can go to therepresentationproject.org.
Yeah, see you guys.
Thank you.